Up until 3 weeks ago, Her Royal Highness Princess Haya bint Al Hussein seemed to be living a glamorous and exciting life. The sister of the King of Jordan, Haya was the former Olympian and high-profile UN ambassador
the UNHRD
who'd become an icon for female empowerment in the Middle East. But then, the fairy tale shattered.
From the outside, anything, wow, they've got everything that you could ever imagine. But actually, it's the things that we take for granted, which is the most important thing that they haven't got.
Now, the 45-year-old princess, along with her 2 young children, has fled to London, apparently trying to escape this man, her husband, the powerful billionaire ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. So much luxury, but no freedom.
No freedom. Yeah, no freedom. And it's the basic freedom.
Marcus Essabri is one of the very few people who understands what the secretive Dubai royal family is really like. He knows because he spent years living inside the palace. Not that it was an enjoyable experience.
If I had stayed there, if I was, or have been kept there, I don't think I could have survived because I don't fit in. I don't tick their boxes.
Well, Marcus, no member of Dubai's royal family has spoken out like this before. It's quite brave from you.
Brave? I wouldn't call it brave. I think that's the right thing to do with all the circumstances that are happening at the present time.
As you'll see tonight, privilege and wealth don't guarantee happiness. And the latest, probably permanent departure from Dubai by a high-ranking member of the royal family is actually not that surprising. Princess Haya and her children are holed up here at the family's $150 million mansion, and security is ever present. They're on one side of the road and Kensington Palace is on the other. But it's a fitting hideaway for this princess who's close friends with the Queen and powerful figures right around the world. How they got here is an extraordinary story. Escaping from Dubai under the cover of darkness on a private jet to Germany, reportedly assisted by foreign diplomats, before eventually seeking refuge here in London.
Princess Haya bint Al Hussein is said to be in fear for her life.
While it's obvious the princess and the sheikh have had a massive blow-up,
leaving her husband without warning and taking $56 million with her.
their falling out is about to get a whole lot more volatile.
She's requested asylum and filed for divorce.
Next week, a British court will begin hearing a bitter custody battle over the couple's two children, 11-year-old daughter Jalila and 7-year-old son Zayed.
Well, they're both enormously rich, and he is worth about $5 billion and is head of a feudal kingdom, in effect. And she, of course, is a royal Jordanian family. But
Australian Jeffrey Robertson is a prominent barrister in London, and he says there could be fireworks.
In custody battles of this kind, the judge has to display the wisdom of Solomon.
Do you find sometimes that in high-profile cases like this for the clients, ego is a big thing?
Where there is no settlement, ego is usually the cause. And sometimes, of course, the most massive ego can fall flat on its face. And that's the danger of going ahead.
And I'd like to welcome our new...
While this dispute might look like a straightforward marriage breakdown, albeit one involving large egos and obscene wealth, it is actually much murkier than that. At the centre of this drama is why Princess Haya decided to run away from Dubai and her husband in the first place. The upcoming court case has the potential to really expose what goes on inside that family.
I think it does, not just that family, but it's a huge diplomatic problem.
Watching the case closely in London is another human rights lawyer, David Haig. What does this say about the way that Sheikh Mohammed is running that family?
We are very worried about Princess Haya.
He believes Princess Haya may have left Dubai after finally learning the truth about one of Sheikh Mohammed's older daughters, 33-year-old Princess Latifa.
In particular, like with Latifa's case, people look at this and that can't be true. And now you've got a situation where there's going to be an English court looking at whether or not it's appropriate to return two children to the father when their mother is saying their life is at risk. And Latifa's evidence is now very, very important.
Coming up,
If you are watching this video, it's not such a good thing.
what happened to Princess Latifa?
She was so fed up with her life in UAE.
Her dramatic attempt to escape Dubai.
It sounded like gunshots.
They hit me in the head, blood was pouring out of my head.
And how it could be the reason behind one of the biggest royal divorces the world has ever seen. Shamsa, Latifa, Haya, 3 princesses have all fled. That's next on 60 Minutes.
Hello, my name is Latifa Al Maktoum. I was born on December 5, 1985.
Princess Latifa is the 33-year-old daughter of one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the world, the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed.
And I'm making this video because it could be the last video I make. Yeah.
Last year, Latifa tried to flee the royal palace. But before she did, probably as a form of insurance, she recorded this astonishing 38-minute video.
My father is the Prime Minister of UAE and the ruler of Dubai, Mohammed bin Rashid.
In it, she made serious allegations about her father, which, if true, could derail the Sheikh's looming custody dispute with his estranged wife, Princess Haya, who herself has now fled Dubai and is in hiding in London with the couple's 2 young children.
My vision is to Dubai to be #1.
So all my father cares about is his reputation. And if you are watching this video, it's not such a good thing. Either I'm dead or I'm in a very, very, very bad situation.
Well, I swear I can see right through you.
Just like Princess Haya, to outsiders, Princess Latifa seemed to have it all. An adrenaline junkie who loved living the high life. But she kept a secret, and it wasn't until she became friends with Tina Johanan that Latifa spoke about it. She said when she was a teenager, she tried to leave Dubai, but was caught and then severely punished.
So in total, I was in prison for 3 years and 4 months. It was constant torture. Even when they weren't physically beating me up, they would torture me.
She basically had no freedom. She was not allowed to have certain friends, even talk to certain family members. Her life was just very restricted.
Latifa felt trapped and oppressed here in Dubai, so eventually she hatched an extraordinary escape plan with her best friend Tina. It was equal parts Thelma and Louise and James Bond, at first fleeing by road to Oman, then by boat and jet ski to India, and finally flying to the United States, where the princess was going to seek political asylum. The reward was freedom at last, but if both women were caught, well, the consequences would be dire.
She would often say, this is life or death for me. She was willing to take the risk, even if she would not make it.
To assist with her escape, Princess Latifa hired former French spy, Hervé Joubert. After months of planning, Latifa launched her daring bid for freedom in February last year. Her friend Tina was by her side.
Before we got in the car, we're like, this is it, it's really happening. We were hugging each other, and whatever happens, we're both doing this because we want to do it.
They drove to neighbouring Oman before facing the most dangerous part of this escape plot. A 5-hour trip by dinghy and jet skis to international waters where Hervé's yacht, the Nostromo, was waiting.
I saw a woman who knew what she was doing. She was absolutely determined to get away.
From there, they set a course for freedom, Goa in India. But on the second day of that voyage, Latifa made a foolish mistake. She messaged her family to let them know that she'd escaped. She didn't think there was any trouble coming before they got to India.
No, she was aware of some trouble coming, but imagine being living in a golden cage all your life.
When trouble did arrive, it arrived in force. Nearing India, Hervé noticed his yacht was being tracked by air and by sea. At 11 p.m. on March the 4th last year, it was raided by commandos.
There was a guy in front of me with a gun to my face, and somebody grabbed me in the back. They handcuffed me. When I was handcuffed, they threw me on the floor. They hit me in the head. Blood was pouring out of my head.
Amid the chaos, Tina and Latifa were handcuffed and hauled up to the boat's deck, exchanging one last look before the princess was dragged off at gunpoint. What was the look in her eyes at this stage?
It was full of fear, but she was still fighting. She was not planning to give up.
Taken against her will, Princess Latifa was returned to Dubai. Human rights lawyer David Haig led the chorus of international condemnation, but for months, all he received in return was silence. What do you think it might take for the world to actually step in here and say, what is going on?
I think ultimately the only person that can let Latifa go, because it is a dictatorship, is her father.
Today, David Haig remains as angry about Sheikh Mohammed's iron rule as he did when I met him a year ago, when 60 Minutes first reported on Latifa's disappearance. But part of his anger is personal.
I was beaten severely. There was sexual abuse as well, which is very difficult to talk about still.
David was the managing director of Leeds United Football Club in 2012 when it was taken over by a Dubai business. But when a dispute erupted over finances, he flew to Dubai, only to find himself locked up in jail on charges he would eventually be acquitted of.
So severe was what they did to me that when I was released, I spent 6 months in hospital, recovering from the broken bones, and as well as the broken mind.
To help in the fight for Latifa's freedom, David has gathered a network of like-minded supporters. And it now includes the princess's own cousin, who for the first time is talking about life inside the palace. Why have you decided to speak?
Because it was very hard for me to ignore it. I couldn't sleep at night. I have to do something. I believe that everything that anybody does will help Latifa. These are the adopted kids that they have there.
Unlike most men in Dubai, Marcus Essabri knows the hardships often faced by women in the royal family. That's because he used to be one of them. You're Marcus now.
I am.
Who did you grow up as?
I grew up as Fatima.
Was it apparent to you from a very young age that boys were treated very differently to girls in Dubai?
Yes. Yeah, big time. Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't last there. Like siblings, really, more than cousins,
Marcus, who transitioned to life as a man 10 years ago,
Clearly, me and Shamsa playing a video game.
Says he shared a special bond with not only Latifa, but also her sister Shamsa, another Dubai princess who tried but failed to escape the royal family.
All I'm saying is that I made up my mind. At the moment, I have hope, I have a goal, but to get there, I'll have to sacrifice some of the things I have.
Shamsa obviously trusted you. I mean, you were almost her confidant in those letters.
Yeah.
What did she say to you when she opened up?
That she would rather die than carry on the life there. For me, it's very tough to talk about this because I feel I've let her down.
It was July 2000, and 18-year-old Shamsa was holidaying at the family's $130 million country estate in Surrey, in England. She managed to escape the compound and was free for several weeks before eventually being caught and sent back to Dubai.
She was in prison for 8 years, and then I was allowed to visit her.
In the video Latifa recorded in the lead up to her own bid for freedom, she talked about her sister's treatment.
Right now, she has a psychiatrist with her, and she's surrounded by nurses. They watch her take her pills. They make sure that she takes all of her pills. These drugs to control her mind. I don't know what they are. And so her life is totally controlled.
While it's impossible to verify Princess Latifa's claims about her sister, Marcus believes every single word. Do you think the way that Shamsa was allegedly taken back to Dubai from the UK would be playing on Princess Haya's mind now?
I hope so. I hope there must be a reason why she left. I think it just shows you that we're not safe wherever we go.
Coming up, disturbing clues begin to emerge about the fate of Princess Latifa. What did you see when you looked at her?
I don't know if she was drugged or despair.
And just how much more scandal can the Dubai royal family take?
His power is falling. People are no longer as scared of him as they once were.
That's next on 60 Minutes. Something is not right in Dubai's privileged and wealthy royal family. It began 19 years ago when the ruler, Sheikh Mohammed's daughter, Princess Shamsa, tried to flee but failed.
Hello, my name is Latifa.
Last year, her sister, Princess Latifa, was similarly foiled in a bid for freedom.
If you are watching this video, it's not such a good thing. Either I'm dead or I'm in a very, very, very bad situation.
But then, just 3 weeks ago, one of the Sheikh's wives, the glamorous Princess Haya, fled to London with her 2 young children. The billion-dollar question is why?
And I don't want to go any more deeply into it because for the protection of Latifa herself.
One of the biggest clues lies in an extraordinary radio interview Princess Haya gave in January. Under pressure to publicly explain what had happened to Latifa, Haya tried to toe the family line.
And what's important to us as a family is to ensure that she's all right.
She rejected any suggestion of ill treatment.
If I thought for a single second that any shred of this was true, I wouldn't put up with it or stand for it.
Princess Haya had invited former UN Human Rights Commissioner Mary Robinson to visit Latifa in Dubai.
I dedicated my presidency to having a space for those who felt marginalised.
But that stunt backfired when disturbing photographs of the meeting were released. Did you see the photo recently that was released of Latifa?
Yes.
Marcus Essabri is Latifa's cousin. What did you see when you looked at her?
Somebody that was there but not there. There was something missing. It's like there was no life. I don't know if she was drugged or despair, emptiness.
In an extraordinary twist, 1 month after these photos were released, Haya also fled the royal palace. First to Germany and then on to London. Shamsa, Latifa, Haya, 3 princesses have all fled Dubai. Why no princes?
Because they have the freedom to come in and out whenever they do. They have the freedom. The women that haven't got the freedom that the men have.
Marcus believes Haya left her husband because she finally realised the truth about what had happened to Latifa.
It's very sad. Somebody's taken like her life away from her. It's like you are living, but you have no right to live. Is she being locked up? Is she being beaten? Is she being fed? I wouldn't treat even an animal the way she has been treated.
Lawyer David Haig says allegations Latifa has been mistreated will prove crucial in Haya's custody case.
Because whereas before they were just essentially trying to cover up, hide her away, you know, and hope it goes away, we're hearing it later, we know it's not going to go away now. Her evidence, it would seem to me, is going to become incredibly important in the UK court.
The stage is now set for the next chapter in this battle royale. Sheikh Mohammed is taking Princess Haya to Britain's High Court in what will be one of the most extraordinary custody cases the world has ever seen. All of a sudden, the private lives of the rulers of Dubai are about to play out very publicly here in London. This is going to be the biggest custody battle the world's almost ever seen between Sheikh Mohammed and Haya. Do you think it's safe for those 2 kids to go back to Dubai?
Absolutely not. And I hope one day that the Latifa is free to be able to answer that question as well, and she can tell you why not in detail.
Given the amount of negative headlines that are really starting to pile up around what's happening in Dubai, for Sheikh Mohammed, do you get a sense that he might feel like his castle is starting to crumble around him?
I think it has. We're also seeing people, you know, that were around the family that for the first time ever are prepared to speak, because his power is falling. People are no longer as scared of him as they once were.
My aim, my hope, my dream is that I can hug them, see them, make sure that they're alright, okay, you know.
Silent for so long, Marcus says he'll now keep on talking until he's holding his cousins, Shamsa and Latifa, safely in his arms. Do you believe it'll happen one day?
I do, or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't do this if I didn't believe it could happen.
What would it mean to you to hug your cousins again?
Really, amazing, amazing. Hugging them will be just amazing, definitely.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.